Everybody should be excited about the Institute for Story and the Story Conference coming up. It is so amazing. It's going to talk about the power and the science of story. It will feature some of the best presenters that I've seen in one gathering anywhere. The first night, Stories Under the Stars, will be at Forsyth Park, and it is people from our community. It's the only place that it's happening, any place, where people from our community will share stories about their life through COVID. It's adults, it's healthcare providers, it's people who are leaders in the community, it's children. And in between, the symphony will be playing a piece that was composed just for the Savannah stories through COVID. And so it is about how do we heal, how do we move forward, how do we have hope. We don't want to lose this time and the story of this time and all the lessons that we learned. We want to use them to say, who do we want to be going forward?
So Hospice Savannah has a long history of recording story. We had a nurse who became a story keeper. She saw that her patients had a desire to leave their story. And what we know is when someone dies, it's like a library burning down. And so we want to preserve those stories and keep those legacies. So we started recording our patients' life stories. And that involved into the past 2 years and having our nurses disconnected from our patients because of PPI and all the distance. And so we got away from that. And so we're trying to bring it back. We're trying to realize that story is the answer to all our problems. You know, we've become a culture where we don't talk to each other. We're not sharing stories. We're reinforcing our current beliefs by headlines. And that's not how you grow, and that's not how you change. So that's why Hospice Savannah and Dr. Berry were taking on this idea that story can change the world. The science tells us that when someone tells a story well, and that's the key, telling it well, is that the listener's body produces oxytocin and other neurons, other chemicals that literally bind us to that storyteller. And so that's how we sell, that's how we lead, that's how our grandparents taught us our values.
Everybody and anybody will benefit. There's a person who's presenting, Saunders. So he talks about how do you get into somebody else's life and share their stories. There's an artist who talks about the science of seeing a story. How do we see a story and fall in love with it? There's a story fixer. There's only 15 of them in the United States who fix the stories for Netflix and Amazon and all of those places before they go up. There's a story fixer coming. The head of global responsibility for Northrop Grumman, who also happens to be the first cousin of Medgar Evers, Sandra Evers Manley, is coming to present. And she's presenting on the power of one. What can one person do to change the story of wherever you are? The presenters and the stories, we've got local presenters, some of the local presenters who are coming.
Stratton Leopold, who a lot of folks may not know, but he was the vice president of Paramount Studios, producer of Star Wars. He literally takes stories and turns it into millions and millions of dollars.
Joe Herring of LabCorp, he's telling the story of moving from the bayou to the boardroom. There's so much here, but it's for healthcare providers, it's for business leaders, it's for individual people. We say that when you tell a better story, you live a better life. And the conference is going to help people tell better stories so that their lives are improved. These people have stories that they've never told. And even going out, we're telling stories. Even at the funeral, we're telling stories. Even years later, when somebody finds a piece of paper, we're telling stories. And we're connected through those stories. I learned through COVID, sharing stories of my Black culture and my Black self, that I was so connected to my white sisters and white brothers and gay and LGBTQ and straight and Christian and Jewish. We were so connected in these stories, but we just hadn't shared them. And this Institute for Story that only exists here in Savannah, Georgia, is blowing it up, and there's people coming from all over the world.
InstituteForStory.com, and you can register. We actually have a rate for our local folks. We really want to encourage local folks to come. We've got a lot of folks coming, but we're excited to have more. So they can go on the website to register, and there's a special code. You can type in the word local, and it will give them a discounted rate, because we'd love to see them there. Because we want to change, the reason we're doing this is to change our community. And when you say who should come and we say everybody, that sounds like we're salespeople or cliche. but it's the truth. I mean, story is like breathing. We're wired to breathe, but when we learn to breathe better, we live better. And it's the same with story.